Here's a hot-pickin' Albert Lee-inspired lick in the key of G. Albert Lee, known as General Lee in the country music circles, was born in England, and he was hanging around London in the late 60s and was a contemporary of players like John McLaughlin, Eric Clapton, and Jimmy Page. And he took this interesting twist, one of the few British players from that era to go into country music, where blues and, British rock and pop was a big thing in those days. And Albert remained friends with Eric Clapton, and he played in Clapton's band for quite a while during the 70s and 80s. And some of his best work is with Emmylou Harris and what she called the Hot Band in the 1970s, with Rodney Crowell playing and singing the harmonies and Albert Lee on the lead guitar. But he's a great session player. If you look through the liner notes on a lot of albums in the 1970s and 80s, you see a lot of Albert Lee and real distinct sound. When you hear that guitar, you know it's him. Albert took the virtuosity of country Telecaster to a whole nother level and did a lot of flashy, really fast picking. Albert approached the Telecaster in a lot of ways sort of like a flat picker would approach the acoustic guitar, and in this first figure, this is almost like a flat picking lick. So I'm sliding from the 3rd fret of the D string up to the 5th fret, and that's making a unison note with the open G, and I'm just going to go down, up between the 2 strings. Okay, so that's the beginning. And this is also an element of Albert's style where he would kind of pedal on a note before starting kind of a run or a lick. So this is kind of giving us a little grounding, almost like kind of a little launch pad to launch off of. So there you go, that's the first part. And here's the lick. So that's the first bit of information there. 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the G string. Open. Hammer on that 1st finger to the 2nd finger, 3rd and 4th frets, and then hit that open string again. So we're kind of using this as a bit of a drop string idea. You could kind of keep that idea going. Off of that open G string. But what we're going to do is right after this, I'm going to work my way up the scale. This is a little chromatic passing tone. And then that gets us to that D note where we start the next measure. So let's just hear this first measure in context up to that downbeat of the measure following it. So here I go, I'll count it in. Ready, and a go, E, and a. From here, we're just going to continue this sort of ascending flourish. We're going to hammer on that 4th finger on the 6th fret, so we're working out of a little G minor pentatonic shape for a minute here. And then right back to that note after we play the high G. And then immediately with the 4th finger on the high E string, slide up from that 6th fret to the 8th fret. And then we're in this position for a minute, and I'll take my 1st finger and hammer on from the 6th to the 7th fret to kind of finish that idea and resolve it to the tonic. And then our next note is going to be the G, and then we'll work our way down the blues scale and then do that little drop string idea again to the open G to get our closing lick. So this little guy, that little flat third to major third, happens 3 times in the lick, and that defines the sound of the tonic chord, the G chord. So the second half of this, the second measure, goes like this. Ready and a go, E and a. Now you have the option to flat pick that whole thing. Or work in some hybrid style. Either way, the idea is to keep that just really flowing, keep the notes really even. And you'll hear kind of the fluidity of this lick when you get those hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides. So this second measure of the lick in itself is a ton of material, and you could take this and extend this idea. So now I'll play this entire example with the rhythm track.